Again, we're open to discussion and exchanging of ideas. Feel free to question and comment and ask whatever questions you need to ask. And let's again try to have a great discussion. So today again, I'm gonna bring back the same one. He who has a wife to live can bear almost anyhow. Again, he who has a wife to live can bear almost anyhow. So find your wife, and I'm pretty sure getting through mostly anything in life, you'll be able to handle it. All right, so for this week, we have another player of the week, none other than Mr. Myron Samuel. Let's take in some of them now, just to give people an idea. Alright, let me just go back again. I'm not getting the audio to come through, so let me just start the audio for you one time before we continue. Not sure what's going on. Alright, let me know if it's here now, because I don't think the audio was coming through earlier.
The reason we played the game. This is Football in Vincy as we knew it.
I started off at a very young age. You know, growing up in Layu, it's a norm for footballers to be outstanding and stuff like that. So it's like I always around good players growing up as a kid. So I learned some advanced stuff at a very young age. So it started off very young for me. Moving to the national setup under 15, under 16, under 17, year 20 at a very young age. Then I moved to the senior team in 2008 at age 14. So yeah, it was basically, I'm still the youngest player to ever represent St. Vincent and the Grenadines at a senior level. I was the youngest player to score for St. Vincent and the Grenadines against Angola. Yeah, so from that it was just up movement. The fact that I love the sport, I stay away from the drugs, the alcohol. Growing up, it was morning training, evening training. I wish my house was on the park. I started to get some trials. I went on a few trials. I went to Finland, I went to Seattle, playing for Seattle second team. And I'm thankful to gain that experience playing professional football. It was a dream come true. As a kid, I always wanted to be a professional player. For the kids, it's like stick to what you want and know what you want and work towards it. But it won't come easy, so don't give up. Take your schooling very seriously because you get more options when you're in the school setup. Sadly, in 2018, I played my last game for St. Vincent and the Grenadines after discovering I have a bone disease. That's how it ended for me. It was a joy playing for my country, and I am thankful. I played for my country 64 times, scored 24 goals, even though it ended pretty badly for me. But it was a pleasure doing what I love. For me, it never was a sport, it was my life.
National pride, genuine passion. The reason we played the game. This is Football in Vincy as we knew it.
So that was our player of the week, Mr. Myron Samuel. We take us on now to our session for today. We continue the series. Yes?
I'm sorry. Can I ask you what he's doing now?
Well, he has his own establishment at the moment. He has a bar. That's what he's doing. In terms of sport, he's coaching his village, well, shouldn't say village, Layu FC club team. So he's a part of the structure as well as working within Lee in terms of helping youth to develop in football.
And his health?
Health-wise, at the moment, he's trying to get an operation done on his hip to try to fix that issue that he has.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, no problem. So again, we continue with our series that is the beauty of the long ball, and as we have looked at over the past 3 weeks, would have been the different types of long ball, how we use it for attack, how do we use it for defense, and why is it important to know about it, and how we can use it in different ways. But tonight, what the focus is going to be on is basically how do we counter press on the second ball, and we look ball, how do we counter press? Backward pressing from behind, the second ball, and superiority on the long ball. So these are the three main areas we're gonna look at for tonight. When we talk about, I'm gonna play this video so you can get an idea what it really is. Right, so that's our idea of what the counter pressing is. Well, with that gig and pressing, which means position right after losing the ball, and as the team in yellow, which is Dortmund, lost possession, everybody ran towards where the player who is on the ball. But our is not just a short pass, but a long pass. So up from a long pass, how do we count possession of the ball immediately? An organized unit, the more for transition to be really going to look at. So it's really a transition on how quick we're able to respond and what we're able to do. Sorry. All right, the entire team hunts the ball, and in the ideal case, immediately wins it back from the opponent. So the concept is, just to be clear at what we're looking at, the team plays a long ball, they lose possession of the long ball, but the players from your team immediately try to regain possession of the ball by pressing it very aggressively in order to regain possession. So that's the context in which we're gonna look at the presentation tonight. All right. When we are looking at this scenario, we're gonna look at the counter pressing on the second ball itself. So what we mean by the second ball. So the player that plays the ball long, we call that ball one. The second ball is the ball after the person tries to control or flick on or whatever the case may be. That is what we're looking at in terms of the second ball. So if we look at the video now, it's after this person makes this pass, and then the player controls it on the right side. That is what we're looking at in terms of the second ball. Let me just... Long balls can be excellent situation to apply counter pressing, especially the dead ball and the chosen pass situation, as you have to have control over the structure of the team. Again, some reinforcement of what we're looking at. When this long ball is being played, what is key is how the team is shaped and the structure in which we are organized. So it can be done in the long ball situation. To control, it's hard for the opposition to play out underneath the pressure within the first couple of passes. So the ball goes long. That first ball, it's very hard to control or to manipulate. So it gives you an opportunity now to actually regain possession and then move forward with the ball. Especially as they usually lack the width themselves as they just move into a compact shape to defend the long ball. So again, the situation is, once the ball goes down, you recognize as the defender, it's difficult for the team to keep possession and to move with it. So you position yourself so as to win back that ball as it is being played. All right. Any questions on this before I move forward, just to make sure everybody's there what we're discussing? All right, so let me just try to make a reference to the video that's here so that we are particularly clear on what we're talking about. So that long ball there now, that's the ball one. Ball two is as he controls it. Red team is able to regain it. The second ball is us pressing here now to regain the ball. So look at us in the context of Chelsea. We lost the ball. This is the second ball now. We're trying to regain it. So immediately we're pressing to regain possession. And as you see, the pressure was good and they were able to get a through from that particular situation. To play out from that situation, we will be in a bad shape and they will spread us out immediately. So the concept is, can we press immediately that long ball that is being played? All right, so the counter press on the second balls. So what I want is to look at is usually the second ball is usually either space or man-oriented or a mixture of both. So when you're defending this particular situation, you either try to mark space, which is what Sammy likes, or you go man-to-man orientation or maybe a mix. Man-to-man, why is this moving? Right. Man-to-man oriented counter-pressing will often be seen in situations in which the opponent wins the initial header and have players positioned to receive a second ball without pressure. So this is the case where they are intentionally playing it long, but they are positioning themselves to regain the possession after the forced pass. By applying man-to-man oriented counter-pressing, the team ensures that all players are pressed by a direct opponent and aren't able to play controlled pass to get away from the situation. So the suggestion that is here is once they start playing long balls, it is not the best to try to mark space, because you mark space, takes a little while for you to get to press the player. But if you're using the man orientation where you mark them closely, as soon as the ball is played, you're able to press. Now, if we were to look at this scenario that's here, the blue team are playing the ball long. Our task as the white team would be to win the second ball. So if you notice how the team is positioned. Now the function of the blue, as we're playing it long, is to get close to the players. And this is what we're talking about, the counter press. So the blue team try to play it long to this blue player, but the white player receives the ball. As a result, we're trying to get the second ball, which is the next ball they're about to play. So the suggestion now is we press immediately. So this player moves in, this one gets close, and this is the 1v1 situation start to open up here, not allowing them to play the ball out. All right, so the other scenario that we're going to look at in the counter press in the second ball is the space-oriented one. So how do we function in terms of the space? This is often a situation in which the second ball falls between multiple defensive lines. So the back line has to press forward and the higher line to press in the opposite direction, which condenses the space between the lines. So that is what needs to happen. Then some real feedback tonight.
When it's the yeah,
go ahead.
When it's the higher line, is that the first line?
All right. So the red team.
Right.
All right. So this is their defensive line. This is their midfield line. This is their attacking line. So when they say the higher line, so they are saying the red in the back needs to go up and these in the top need to come down. If you look at the white, this is the back line. All right, this is the back line. This is the front line here, which is these two players. So the idea of the concept is the back line press up on the ball and the lower line press down on the ball.
Lower or first line. Let me just make sure. Lower or first line.
Lower.
Okay.
So it could be the midfield line, And it could be the front line as well, because it depends on who makes the movement. But in this specific scenario here, this is showing you the two lines. So this one in the back, this one in the front. So the concept is, once the ball comes along and this player has the ball, the pressing comes from the two lines. The one that's behind and the lower line in front, which will be the midfield. With me? Clara? Is that clearer? All right. So again, with the space-oriented situation, you have to have the lines compressing in order to prevent the person getting out with the ball. So that's the general idea behind it. You get me the Sammy?
Yeah. My question is, you're training your team to do this, to counter press, right?
Mm-hmm.
What time or what stage in your practice, say that, you have 2 months to set up your team,
Mm-hmm.
right? Defensively, you have to set up all of these, you have to show them how to set up all of these lines, And I really believe, when you're setting up these lines, right? You have to start with the 4-4-2, the traditional system, where they can understand the lines and the space between the lines and stuff like that. So my question is, for the young coaches,
Mm-hmm.
we understand what you're saying here, but when do we do? At what stage in your practice do you implement something like this?
I don't know if anybody want to comment first before I do. Anybody want to start or have a comment before I do? So I'll go ahead now. So for me, right, Sammy?
Yeah.
All these things have to be done from day one. So every session, and what is key is you need to have your game model from day one. How it is I want to play. So it doesn't matter the session you're setting up. All the principles that you want, they must apply to every session you're having so that the players can adapt it. When we talk counter pressing, what I think we need to understand is we're talking about transition.
Okay.
And this can happen in the game at any point. So it's getting your players to recognize how I am transitioning and how do I do this particular press. And for me, this is not a matter of later on in the season, but from day one, this is how I'm going to coach. Every session must have attacking, defending, and transition. The two transitions in order to have the players in play. Football team copied into this thing. Anybody else? Think you clear this, Sammy? You agree? Or you disagree? What's your opinion?
No, I just think that, I'm looking at how we play, how most of our team in St. Vincent play, right? Defensively, is non-existent. What I mean by that, most of our teams, the midfield and the forward, they don't understand that they have to defend. They don't know, they don't understand their word cover and all that kind of stuff, They just leave it to the back four. And I'm saying, unless you have the shape defensively, and this is just basic defending, this is, make sure that, whether it's, it doesn't matter what system you're playing, whether it's, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, 4-4, those guys have to come back, especially those guys on the wing, every time. And it doesn't make sense if they don't understand that, which is basic defending. They can't understand it.
No, I get not.
The matter of understanding this is, the question is really, When I lose the ball, when my team lose the ball, what am I supposed to do? That's the question we're answering here.
Right.
When the ball is played long and we lose the first ball, what are we supposed to do? That is what we're looking at here. And I think this is what I want us to focus in on. So it brings us back again to the principles. So once that happens, we must press. How are we going to press? And that is what I'm trying to explain here. Is either we're gonna press in terms of space oriented, or we're gonna press man-to-man oriented. And that's a choice each coach will have to make in terms of where they're gonna press, how they're gonna press, and who is going to do what. Yeah?
So you press for, okay. You press for 5 seconds, 7 seconds, right? And you don't get it back. Then what you do?
You put the right hand.
That would then depend on you as a coach. So you're gonna decide on that. So for example, let's say you press for 5 seconds and the team carries it back to their goalkeeper. We're gonna stop press, or you can continue to press. If 7 seconds happen and you realize you put them in a spot to win it, maybe in the next 3 passes, you can stop press and drop off.
About the big space behind it. Suppose the person behind the back and that big space behind there going to your goalkeeper. You
That's
thinking
what
about
I'm
that?
saying. Yeah, I am thinking about that, and I'm saying it is based upon the coach. So you're saying, as the centre back, we have pressing going on in the midfield and up front. Your task is then to be in a position to cover the long pass. And obviously, if there's no pressure on the ball, it means they can play it long, so you have to drop off and protect the space. So that's what I'm saying. It would be dependent on each coach, how they want to approach it.
And obviously a goalkeeper also, right?
Yes, goalkeeper would be higher. In this scenario, which one would you prefer, man-to-man or space-oriented?
I think you have to go, well, it has to be organized, it has to go man-to-man.
Man-to-man.
Yeah.
All right.
But still, I mean, because I don't like to take risks defensively.
Yeah.
And knowing our players, that they don't really carry out details.
Mm-hmm.
I just pull off.
You drop off.
Yeah.
Okay. So you could have a partial press of space and man-to-man. So specific players will pick up man-to-man while others pick up space. Yes, Mr. Hector, you can go ahead.
Theon, like how we do them thing from small growing up. How is it we go in and teach our old players them? We never do them thing there. How is it you as a coach can teach the players them that in a game situation? And how long it's going to take me to develop it? Because when you talking here is true now, but we don't go through them thing there. We don't just play natural soccer. We ain't about counter press on the counter, nothing like Sammy said.
I agree with you. And me and you have many conversations about this. So if the coach can wait until game to do it, then he did bad. He did real bad.
West
what?
Theon, can I check in?
What?
Can I check in, Theon? Can I check in?
Just hold on. Let Hector finish. Let Hector finish his point, and then and then you could check in. Go ahead. Go ahead, Hector.
Honestly, like Sammy said, we don't play them thing. So how we going to learn that by just bringing it to the players them and say, oh, we playing counter pressing now. You have for this, you have for that. With the soccer we are custom.
No. This is right. So this for me, what I'm showing you here is a process. We have train it. We have teach it. So obviously we can play. We could set up the same scenario where a long ball is played into the striker, and then we explain and show them specifically how we want them to press, where we want them to press, based on where it is happening. And this will take a while because you and I know Vincentians do not play when we don't have the ball. The only time we want to play and we don't want to press, we only want it We are play when our team have possession. So it's a whole mindset. We are
you know, Vincent and players do follow instructions.
Well, now we have one. Sammy said it. Sammy said it. It's not a matter. I don't think it's a matter of no follow instructions, but it's like what you said before. They were never coached to follow these kind of instructions. What they know about is just run, just do your thing, and not necessarily follow a specific pattern or way of doing things.
Yeah.
Let Patrick come and then you go. Okay. Let Patrick come and then you go. Patrick, go ahead.
Yeah, good night, guys. You know, I was reading the instructions, but I'm listening to Justin too, you know, because of that situation they have with the But just to pick back on what you guys were saying, players can learn anything, man. Players can learn anything. These boys want to play. Could you hear me?
Yeah, we're hearing him.
Because players want to learn and want to be better. Any good coach just take the fellas aside and say, fellas, this is what we got to do. I don't want to hear players who won't listen. I don't believe it. Sammy, I don't want to hear, don't answer that.
What do you mean?
In my experience of coaching, players want to be better. If you could reach them and explain to them that they're better players, they're a better team, if they do this, they will try and they will learn it. That's my positive. That's how I approach it. But then again, like you said, they haven't been taught it. And some of the training sessions that I see they're doing now, those things are pre-season. 2 weeks before your game, the things we are talking about here are things they should be doing. That's called team tactics. You shouldn't be jumping from cone to cone and jumping up all over the place. Team tactics is what they should be using now, 2 weeks before game. Team tactics, high pressing, low pressing, when you press, how you press.
Patrick,
this is what should be going on now. And they could learn it. That's all I'm saying.
When we never play to them.
And you can learn it.
No, it's not okay. Because if you never learn something, you can't learn it when you're done 21, 22.
That's not true. That is not true. No, this is football.
In football, 21,
give yourself
22
and the players the benefit of the doubt. My friend, if I come to St. Vincent and I simplify it for them and shadow it without the ball and show them what to do, they can do it. Don't tell me that. I've been coaching for over 40 years. They can learn it.
I'm going to take Mr. Alexander after this.
Okay, I'm listening on the other side, fellas. Okay. I'll chime in again.
What I think, if we look at it in terms of schooling, right? They go through kindergarten, infant, grade this, grade that, grade what. Our problem is the gaps that are in their development. So they never really went through a process of kindergarten, learning the basics, They just get thrown straight in football and they don't understand the concepts. So it's kind of hard, but the process for learning will take a lot longer, as you know. As they get older, less information being stored. Go ahead, Mr. Alexander. See you have your hand up.
Yes, gentlemen. Okay. This is my concept. It is a point of, you have to have a point where you want to defend from. Okay? I'm going to give you an experience over the weekend. I played FC Barcelona, and those kids can pass. They can play out from the back. Okay? So I basically, they can make as much passes in the back. I don't mind. As soon as the ball reached to the midfield, it was basically where I'm going to start defending man-to-man or defending space. So as the gentleman said, it is practice and repetitions. Now, you cannot just say to your team, okay, this is what I want you to do. Okay? We already know who we playing. Okay? And we already know their style of play. And I think it's the fourth time we play them now. And we know the style of play. And I beat them 3 times. Okay? Because at the end of the day, it is how you practice is how you're going to play.
I just want to jump in here,
Go ahead, Sam.
Realistically, you see what you're doing here?
Yeah.
This is football at a different level. You understand? And this is a professional training. You understand? And we don't have professional players. This is what I'm getting at, right? Our setup, we don't have national academies. All this is supposed to be done in the national academy at a different age group, right? It cannot be done by the club because of time restraint and all that kind of stuff, because we only just practice like 40 minutes, per day, after we finish stretching.
Exactly.
You understand? So it's so difficult to implement this stuff, and it's needed. So this is why I say it's so important to do the basic stuff now. They understand the basic stuff in terms of
But
Go ahead.
Sammy, I want to agree with you, but it's quite hard. So here's what I'm going to say, right?
Right.
When you're coaching, when a ball is played long to the striker, what are your instructions to your defender and your midfielder?
Well, okay. First of all, my defensive midfield has to be in place. And it all depends on where the striker is, That double team is necessary. You understand?
So okay, good. Based on that, that is what this is about. You see the big word counterpressing and all that, it's just a name given to it. That is basically it. Have the players in the right position. When the team wins the first ball, you're in a position to get the second ball. The problem is maybe we don't understand the terms of second ball, but coaching, once you're coaching, you know exactly the situation that I'm talking about. The opposition play the ball long, the right back play long, down to the striker. What your defensive midfielder can do, what your centre back can do. If the striker win it, we will press it immediately to win it back to goal. If we leave them to control and play, we're in trouble. That is what we talk about. I don't think it's complex. The problem is maybe the terminology that we're using, but it's basic. Tell me. I think we could give ourselves a bit more credit, man. It's just that we don't reinforce. I would agree to that we don't train enough, and we probably structure the training, maybe the problem. But it's things we have been coaching, but just that we're not consistent with it enough for the players to get.
Coaching where have you been coaching this?
Huh?
Where have you been coaching this?
Me?
Yeah.
I've been coaching my secondary school, my junior players this, Jebel this.
Okay. But I just think, because, there's certain factors that, go into this thing, in terms of, where the lines are, how far they're from each other. When you have to leave that line, and who is the first person, the active defender, the first defender, then man to man, and it's a crazy thing with man to man, and the responsibility, it's so hard. And you're talking about, this is in a game situation. And the problem I have with all this, right, I believe organization, especially defensively, at any level, is paramount. You understand?
What I could say maybe a problem is the coach's ability to coach this particular session or teach this particular skill. That may be a problem, and how we do our training, that may be a problem, and that's why I'm trying to do some of these sessions so we can recognize how they can be done and what is important. Vicky, I think you were trying to get in.
Yeah. So I want to just, because in hearing everybody speak, I want to just give some confidence in that it can happen. It's just whether or not it's going to happen at the level you want it to, based on the players you're working with. But like Patrick said, the players can learn and they want to learn. It's just going to be more difficult because they're older, but it is so important. Just like with young kids, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, it's so important to have positive language that as coaches, we really need to say, how can I teach them? Even if it takes 2 years, it's into the lesson plan, especially certain lesson plans. We each as coaches grow up with different experiences. I'll have more confidence with certain types of lessons than others, and others I'm going to have to study more and plan more with. And that's just the reality. We all have to learn something. So if there is a certain concept that a specific coach needs more help with, they're going to need to have more time so then they could prepare the players a little better. And with those specific lessons, even if it's like 40 minutes in the practice, even more so, you have to plan even better so that every minute counts. And those lessons, perhaps if you're able to plan ahead, of course we all have lives, so that's hard to do sometimes. But if you're able to plan ahead, perhaps you can send that lesson plan to the players ahead of time. Not all of them are going to be receptive. That's life. But some of them, and hopefully your key leaders on the field in your team, can learn that a little more and become part of the teaching segment, part of your assistant coaches in the practice, to help the other ones recognize what's happening in that specific lesson. And that is so important, because the vehicle, the vessel of information is key. Every day I go through this, giving information to others and receiving it. I acknowledge myself that sometimes, just because the person I don't trust is trying to give me that information, I'll receive it from someone else better. And that's the nature of things. I have to do that with certain people in my family as well, and it's vice versa. So find the people on the team who can reach the other ones who you feel you cannot reach, or I should say, take my own medicine, who you feel are more difficult to reach, but you can reach it. You need to find that avenue. If you can't go from the left, you go over the top, you meg the person, or you go around to the other side. You find a way, but you're going to have to be a little more patient and realistic that it might take longer. And let me tell you this, once those players are able to figure out that they can work together on just one concept, they're going to see the light and think, oh, if we can get this one, maybe we can get the next one. And then, they can start watching games with that perspective. Instead of just watching games, oh, they scored, but they start watching games as analysts and as coaches so that they can play better with that in mind.
Anyway. Very good points, Vicky. Very good points. You said two things there, right? Trust and identifying the leaders. This is what coaches know. If you coach this game, you know those things. The first thing you do is you develop a good relationship with your players. If your players know whatever you do is for them, you're making them better players, better people, the team is better. Don't tell me they're not gonna listen to you. I don't believe it. And they keep saying it in sentence all the time. Sammy, no.
We say it because we say it because we involved with the players and we see it.
Right, but you don't have the coach. You don't have the coaches.
Sammy know that. That's why we could say it.
Lemon, listen to me. You don't have the coaches to apply what I'm talking about. It's common sense. You walk into a classroom, the kids know if you could teach them and make them better, they will listen. Here's the other thing you got to do. And find the influential men on the team. Take Jovan Sutherland. Take Carney. and your captains, especially the fellas who play abroad, sit them down. Explain to them. They understand what you're doing, how this is better for you, what's in it for them, for the country, for football, for them as people. I don't believe they will not listen to you.
Patrick.
This kind of stuff you can teach anytime. It's how you teach it.
No.
Let me finish, Sammy. This thing about counter-pressing, you don't have to mention that word. Look, let's just, and you can practice it. Let's win it back right where you lose it. That's it. You're done. Then you show them, you deny space.
Patrick.
Here's what Barcelona does. And here's what you do too. Here's what you do. Here's what you do. You could take films and show them, or as you play, all these things you're talking about happen when they play scrimmage. As soon as that second ball drops on the 18-yard line, when the defender headed back or when it's not cleared properly, you stop the game right there. This is what we're talking about. No. You should be here, ba, 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 and you're done. It could be taught.
Patrick.
It could be taught.
This thing is done in practice. We talk about,
that's what I said, Sammy,
in a scrimmage and things like that.
I said practice. That's what I said. I don't expect you to go into a game and do it without practicing it. It could be done.
We're not, okay, so Patrick.
What's the purpose of a coach then?
We're not,
the purpose of a coach?
We're not saying it can't be done,
Yes, what you're saying. You're saying they can't learn it. That's not true.
I never said it.
That's not true. I know some of the guys on the team.
You see, it's very important for you to be here early. You're just coming late and
Sammy, a ball plays a ball. Hey, listen to me. You take any kind of man who's a ball player. Take a man from Algeria and put a coach from St. Vincent. If they know what they're talking about and the coach has the right approach, and the players are the same all over. They want to play, they want to be successful.
Alexander, I think you had your hand up.
We're scrambling away. We're scrambling away. Patrick, and this is what I don't like about this Zoom thing here, right?
Why?
This Zoom thing is just too individual in terms of, this is a team.
It's basic. It's not individual. Every good coach knows this stuff.
Listen to me, Patrick. This is a team. You talking about, you got a captain over here and they pull him aside. What does pulling him aside mean? Pull him aside in a classroom, on the field? What are you talking about, Patrick?
Anywhere, Sammy. You can have a big team captain after this session.
We don't want you to.
Happen anyway. You're making this, Sammy. You're making it as if that this is something that's not done every day. This is done every day, Sammy.
No, it's not. No, have you seen our Premier Division, Patrick?
Sorry.
Patrick, no, let me just finish that. There's no line. There's no line defensively in our Premier Division. There's only one line.
I won't agree with you on that. I would disagree with you on that.
There is only one line I see.
When you say disagree, don't say your team does play it or not. Your team alone and the rest team them not playing it. You can't say you disagree. What's Sammy talking in the truth?
Wait now, man. I could name the teams that were getting full up, obviously. The defensive line pool. The teams who not getting full up, they have a better defensive shape. That's my point.
Okay.
No, there are some better players. There are some better players, Theon. Some better players.
And 1v1, they're a little better. I agree with you. But I have seen, like Sammy is saying, the lines are very poor. They don't know who should pressure, who should cover, who's the fourth defender.
Thank you.
I agree with. I could agree with you on that.
Okay, listen. Okay.
But we ain't as bad as you're trying to make it seem.
Okay, no, listen.
At least I am optimistic.
Okay. This is what I'm saying, right? When I look at that game, okay, you see all that stuff that you mentioned last week and the week before, and what you mentioned tonight.
Yeah.
When you look at these games tomorrow, you see all of these things. It's right there. You see all of these things that we mentioned, you see right there. But when I look at our team home in the Premier Division, the back line, there's no shape in the back line at all. Okay?
Some teams,
the second line, which is the midfield, defensively, there's nothing. You understand?
But we also talk about why that happened. You and I spoke about that. It was in the same thing. If we keep playing the ball long, then the lines obviously gonna get stretched. So if you let me see a good team to use, who are fast, whoever it is, St. Vincent team, for example, when we play the long ball to our strikers, because of their speed, nobody could catch up with them. So the midfield line and the attacking line, when we lose possession of the ball, is too wide. And then as a result, the midfield line, when they press, there's space behind them, which is exploited because the space in between the defensive midfield line is too wide because of the amount of long balls we play and how we counter press based on that.
But if you play long ball, 2-3 players alone, we're faster than the whole team, and then reach up there. How the other team can reach? How the teammates can reach up?
That's what I'm saying. We now have to have a plan how we can reach up, because if we try reach with them, the spacing can be too wide, and that ain't making no sense. But that's what we keep doing. So this is the point of this here now. When we play it long, how do we press after we lose it? When these same 3 players lose it, how we can press? How we can keep the lines just like the Sammy said? Who had the press first? Who had the cover and where we had to go? Yes.
Hey. So there's a concept that players must move when the ball is in the air. Any coach ever told you that?
My buddy,
right.
You can't move any pace with Myron and them moving and them moving.
Yeah, but still, no. Well, first of all, you could teach compactness. How often do they use the long ball? How often do they use
every time?
Okay, well, so that's a problem right there. That's a big problem right there.
Start to get what we're talking now.
No. It's not going to start to get what we're talking about.
Listen to the context now, man. Wait. What the context is. I agree that they can be taught it. What I'm saying is they have not been taught how to do it properly. They are guessing on how to do it.
Okay, what I suggest,
Right, so you can't blame players for that.
I'm not blaming them. I'm not blaming them.
One more point. You guys are talking about they don't know the back line and all this kind of stuff. Let me tell you something. It's just my observation. I was watching schoolboys football in Victoria Park, right? And just by how the teams play, I could have identified, I would have won the fella from Georgetown. This was 2 years ago. You remember the Georgetown schoolboys team?
Yeah.
Are they one of the better schoolboys team you saw or what?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's my point. No, you have a technical director, right? You see all the teams play. No, Sammy, just listen what's going to happen. You're not listening, Sammy. Okay, you're not. Would you guys just stop? I understand that.
Do not come and watch football.
Well, that's my point.
Patrick, on this Zoom, don't mention the technical director, don't mention Mark on this Zoom.
Sammy, listen. This is what should happen, right? So you have a tech, and he shouldn't be going around seeing this. So I'm the technical director. I see this team playing well. That man has to be one of my national coaches because he's ahead of the rest. Now the rest of them, again, you have sessions for all the coaches. Even some of the players that I see there, all those fellas who are coaching those schoolboys teams, because that's the crucial age. Get them together, and everything we talk here, them fellas could learn it, and you could go around from team to team and do a few things and explain. So part of the problem is, yes, they don't do it because of the coaching. So you got to start with the coaching.
So the coaching
has to improve.
I would agree with you on that. The coaching have to improve. Mr. Alexander, before I move to the next slide, you want to come in now before I move to the next slide?
Okay. Yo, guys. It come back to the same thing. How you practice is how you play. Okay? It's like, and everything have to be repetition. You can't practice these things one time and you have a game in 4 weeks. You practice it in the fourth week. And then you move on to something else. It's like it have to be like you from one thing to the other until the whole game is complete.
Okay. while that is true, Scumler, what is it? What if it's the wrong thing that you repeating and teaching?
Huh?
What if it's the wrong thing that you repeating and teaching?
Well, if it's the wrong thing, and the other team will prove me wrong.
Like training on the beach, like the military.
Yo, I don't want to go over this. You see, Alien, not good,
Counterpressing on the long ball, gentlemen. Let's go. Counterpressing on the long ball.
So, like one thing lead to the other. Okay, if we practicing a shape and how to stay compact, it has to be something we practice throughout.
Well, okay.
From beginning to end.
How do we solve? Okay, how do we solve all of these problems? And this is what I said. This is what I said last week, right?
You talking putting into what?
You talking about?
You talking putting into the national team or putting into my like the way I coach or whatever. I don't get it, Sam.
Scumler, this is football, Scumler. This is football.
How we solve it is we have to improve the level of coaching. That's 1, 2. We have to have the players playing more games. 3, we have to increase the level at which the players play. And then from there we progress.
That easy to say that because we're on Zoom, you're talking good because we're on Zoom and talking good. But realistically,
I just said it. That's what you need. You need 1, improve the coaches.
Will that take too long?
Play more games.
Yeah, that's going to take too long.
So we're going to do. How else you can do it, Sammy?
Okay. What I suggest, right? All of these things that you have there in terms of the counterpressing, second ball, and all that thing last week. That's supposed to be in the library, right?
So that the coaches have to have more education on the topics. That's the first thing. They have to know what they're going to teach and how to teach it. And when they don't do that, they have to go and train. And then we have put the children in more game situations so they could learn it more. And when they finish the game, you go over the game with them, you recap, you show them where they could improve, how they should improve, and the counterpressing. You start the process again, they play more games again, and you keep reversing back and forth until they improve. That's no problem.
I just think, okay, it takes a long time to be a coach, right? And the reason why it takes so long is that there's so much thing to learn and stuff like that, right? What I'm saying, our coaches, as you guys know, we don't coach enough, we don't practice enough, and all that kind of stuff, right? So this is why our development taking so long. You understand? But when you understand coaching, now you have to come up with your own philosophy. Okay, Theon teaches something here on the Zoom for the past 6 months, right? And I go out and try some of these things. Okay? I will not know the results until game day.
Yep.
Right? And game day, if I lose it and stuff like that. And this is how I turn off Theon, And this thing happening on Zoom. This Zoom is a good example. Right? When we started on Zoom, if you guys remember when we started on the Zoom, right? We bring in all this kind of people, we bring in all kind of people, we bring in the technical directors, we bring in the national coach and stuff like that, right? And they have their own philosophy, they have their own style, they have their own style, which is different from our style, and we have to respect that. You understand what I'm saying? But in teaching the coaches, after we teach the coaches all of these things, they have to come up with their own philosophy that works for them, based upon the Zoom, based upon how they play, as players, and based upon and based upon who their mentors are, who they look up to.
I feel very happy tonight hearing that from you, Sammy, because it has been a while I've been trying to get across to you, and it's so lovely to hear it from you tonight. Because you are all about Yeah, you were all about syllabus. They have to do this, they have to do this. So it's great. But anyway, we go continue that. Let's continue the topic and we go continue it eventually. All right. So here again is a prime example of the same concept that we're talking about. So after the long ball, look at how the yellow team is aggressive towards trying to win the second ball after the fourth ball. So let's look at the scenario again. Ball gonna be played long. Long. They lose the first ball. Here's the second ball. The players are rushing immediately to get there to press that particular player on the second ball. This is what we have been talking about. So passing oriented counter pressing is very unlikely to be seen. So it is not very smart to try and defend the passing lane. That's the basic concept. It's always best to defend 1v1 or manage the space itself that's in front of you. All right. If you were to apply passing lane oriented counter press, you would run into difficulty of orientation of the passing lane. The reason for this is the team doesn't have its shape as yet. So you really don't know which lane to block. So this is why it is advising that you press the player immediately and deny the team as much space to create their initial passes. All right, the players are focused on the ball, and it is nearly impossible to keep focusing on a long ball while it is checking your shoulder to ensure that you're still taking out the passing lane. So it's hard to be looking at the long ball and checking over your shoulder to see if I am covering the passing lane. So it is easier and it is better for you to try to one deny space by applying immediate pressure, and you could do this by creating a 1v1 scenario. Again, counter pressing the second ball. The second ball problem would be that problem you might have with this scenario is if the ball, while you're pressing, the ball bounces over your head or the player is able to flick it on. While you may want to immediately press, it is quite difficult if the ball is bouncing or if you're not in control of it. All right, you need to have your eyes on it, and recognize when to press, where to press, and how aggressively to press. And obviously, angle at which you're pressing as well. Where are you pushing the players and how you want it to finish. Right, so these are the things we have to look at when we are counter pressing the second ball. So even in the video, if you recognize what's taking place here, the keeper plays the first ball. The team recognizes they're about to lose it. So now they're trying to regain it. Look at how aggressively everybody is trying to press. And they're able to get the ball, regain possession because the team is forced to play it long. This is the general concept that we were looking at. And the ball is in motion. We try to put ourselves in a position to either win the first or the second ball. On the second ball, if we're not there, we have to be aggressive on the press to be nice space so that the team can open up and play through or around or over us. Those are the general concepts. Now, there's another one that we could basically look at is the transitioning into a press. So, while the counter pressing is in transition, there's another sector that we could look at. What if you lose the second ball as well? What happens then? So, the second ball comes, you don't get the chance to win the second ball. What do I do in that case? What you're still trying to do is to look for triggers of when to press and how to press. So obviously, now you have to look at, do I have the flight of the ball? Is the person's back towards me? Is the pace of the pass fast enough for me to press? If I rush them too quickly, would they get behind me? So now it is, I miss the first, I lose the second, what do I do from there? Now it's time to recognize when it is to press, or like Sammy does say, do we drop off? Do we drop off from the ball? So each coach has to make up their mind and make a decision on when they want to do this press and how they want to do this press. Now, when we're looking at the transition into a press, the same trigger apply in a long ball situation as it does in short balls. All right. The actual this actually makes it quite, it makes sense to actually use these triggers because it's harder to receive to receive the long ball. So the same triggers that apply when you're trying to decide when to press are the same triggers you could use for the same long ball. And I want to go back to that particular point in terms of triggers. If we understand what triggering really means. So when we talk about trigger, these are the things that tells us now is the time when we press. For example, if the ball is being passed backwards, we press. If it is moving towards the wing, we press. So it
wait. Hold on.
Uh-huh.
You just can't say we just press, you know. I mean, who is we? We as a team?
Again.
But the press comes from the, okay, how we have it there, right? Is the red team not pressing, right?
Uh-huh.
Right there?
Yep.
Right. So the first person, the first line is this guy, is that guy up front, because he's there by himself.
Mm-hmm.
So what is probably going to happen, as you just mentioned, you know, he has to determine where he's going to push that pass, if he's going to push it to the left, where it could be more congested by all of these players over here. But you just can't say, you know, it triggers, you know, and everybody just press. It doesn't work like that.
Yes, it works like that. The trigger is when do I press? So for example, if the team is playing the ball back towards the keeper, that is a trigger for your team to push forward. If a player miscontrols the ball, that is a trigger for you to press the ball. If the pass is a long ball.
I understand what you're saying, okay?
Yes.
But when you have your team, or when you play defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's some communications that your vocabulary you have to make sure. I understand what you're saying, right? But your vocabulary have to indicate that though. Whether when they're saying, you know, oh, push up together, press together, all of these things have to be saying, you know, you have to alert.
So Sammy, that's my point. If as a team you know the triggers, then the team moves as a unit. The center back doesn't have to say press. If we know the ball is being played backwards from the midfield to the defenders, that is a cue for us to push forward and press. Everybody moves together. If a player in receiving the ball miscontrols the ball, that is a trigger to press.
So Theon,
yes,
so let me ask a question now.
Uh-huh.
You're Arsenal or you're Man City. So they play the same way.
Uh-huh.
They play from the back. So you'll press every time, it seems like. Now the trigger is always there for that? Are you kidding me? Yeah?
Again, Sammy, let me try and explain that again. If the pass is very fast, if the pass not gonna press it, it's obvious because you will be late. If the pass is slow and you have enough time to get there, that is your trigger to press. The reason it is hard to press these teams is because of the speed at which you hit the ball. You are not allowed the chance to press. So, for example, another trigger would be wait until they get to the side when the ball is on the wing. Why? Because you can use the line as a means. As a defender, they can only come inside. So if you press them, you push them out. You with me? You agree or disagree? Tell me.
Man, let me tell you something. See how you're saying there? It's tremendous, right? If these four guys in the back there, right, just pull off and go down 15 yards down defensively, you understand? Then we want to see the line for the midfield, okay? And the line form, because it's all players defend and all players attack. So what I'm saying, you know, it will be a good thing if you just, all that you're saying here with all of these transition and press and all this kind of stuff, you know, if you can do it back around the 18 there, it's so much better, in my opinion, based on my philosophy.
Based on your, and I agree with what I'm saying in this scenario here that you're seeing here. This ball coming across here, What is this player thinking? If the pass is very slow, can I get there before the person controls the ball? Or am I going to stay here and wait until he controls it? Or while the ball is being passed, he makes a bad touch. Am I going to still stay there or am I going to press?
What if that doesn't happen? What if you have the correct pass, the right pace of pass?
You stay in your position. It's not a trigger to press.
But if you stay in position, there's no shape there, though.
We mean there's no shape there. I don't understand what you mean. There's your back four, your midfield recovering, trying to get back.
I don't know, how about all the way over here? How about, I mean,
how much
nobody over here?
Over here?
Over here, on the right side, overlapping? Because over over on the right-hand side over here, the closest to the screen.
Here, this is the right winger here. Like you forget how they play development. Let me play it again. Let me try and play it again, please. Look at the shape. This is not what you're talking about, eh?
Yes.
Look at here. The back four, defensive midfielder, 3 ahead, 1 day. That's the shape. That's what we're talking about. The trigger to press after the long ball. This is what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at. Look at the trigger to press. That is what specifically we are talking about. It's head forward. So now, all right, I want to go back there again. Let me pull it back there a bit. After the ball is head. So watch this now. After this defender heads the ball forward, look at what the back four does. Sure. Let's see that again. After the defender heads the ball, look at the movement of the back four. Force the drop to cover the space. That's what we're talking about. After they head it, everybody push forward. That is a cue to press. You see that? You see it there? Now they hold the position. You seeing it there for yourself now? Tell me. Tell me, Sammy. We in agreement? You in disagreement?
No, not really. So the first guy, based upon this, right? Who is, based upon where the ball is now, in this scenario, who is going to press first now? Who is going to engage? Who's the first defense? Who's the first person there?
He has to engage. He's the closest person to the ball. He has to engage. He has to restrain the player from getting behind him.
So the left back,
yes. Sammy, in my opinion, what needs to happen here is the left back has to protect the space behind him. If he rushes out, obviously he's not protecting the space. If he maintains where he is, he's gonna delay that player here, giving this player enough time to come across and help. Tell me if you're with me, Sammy.
No, I'm with you.
Right. But the point I was trying to get across there is the triggers for pressing is just like what we just saw there. First, they had the defensive lines. When they head the ball back towards the opposite way, the defense press up. That's a cue to press because the ball is going forward. When the team wins the ball, if they win it, they hold the defensive line and the midfielders try to press the ball to regain the ball. That is what I'm trying to get across here in this context here. All right, so here are some examples again. Some examples of triggers on the long ball. These are examples of when we can press. If the defender is facing his own goal, you press. If the ball is bouncing, meaning nobody's in control or it's in flight, you press. If the ball is moving slowly towards a particular player, you press. If a player is receiving the ball on the side, like the wing back, you press. Why? Because you can use the line to trap the player from getting out. These are the triggers that I'm talking about that you need to teach in this scenario when we're looking at the counter pressing. And when we want to press and how we want to press. Anybody else? Any comments before we move forward again? Any disagreement?
Yeah, let me show you, man. You'll also press on a throw-in. You always press on a throw-in. And the other thing is too, is when you say the word press, you know, sometimes I think people, like maybe Sammy thinks it's like a full press. All you're doing really is sometimes it's not a full press, but when the ball is played back, all you're doing is squeezing forward to shorten the field and deny space. You know, the one person ahead, all you're doing is just squeezing. First squeeze. You just go. Because you got to shorten the field and you have to deny space because you don't have it.
That's what I mean, deny space. How about denying the penetration pass? What
that's what you're doing, Sammy. That's what you're doing. You're denying penetration when you deny space.
You deny penetration when you apply pressure on the ball. If there's no pressure on the ball, then they can pass forward.
Not only that, the man on the ball, when he pressures, everybody else take up the position based on his movement.
Now you're saying something.
Right. But so you're denying space, and that's what you deny penetration.
Listen to your words, Patrick. First you say, no, hold up.
Space. That denies penetration.
Hold up. The first thing you say, semi, you know, meaning probably an individual, but you have to do it as a team.
Well, you are doing it as a team, Sammy. The first man has to go after the ball, and he gives you time for the rest of the players to take the cue from him and squeeze behind him. You're doing it as a team. It's not one man. That's how it works. As a team. You're denying space in the area. That's the first principle of defense. And then you go from there.
Now it's a semi-press. Now we do it as a team. I mean,
nah, you don't have team, Sammy.
It depends, Sammy. It depends on where you are on the field, which position of the field you are, what philosophy you have as a coach based on that particular position, and the numbers that are involved. So if you're outnumbered, we're going to do rush and go press, or you're going to hold your position. So it's a lot of factors. It's a lot of factors.
Right.
You have to take it. But the point is,
the first defender delays and he channels the ball in a particular area. Like he said, depending on where the ball is. Exactly. And I'm glad to see Theon use it. The very first time I came on this Zoom, when I say use the line as a man, fellas looked like me like I was crazy. You always use the line as a man, because where's he gonna go? If you squeeze him on the line, he can't go anywhere.
What do you mean where he's gonna go? The field is 120 by 80. There's a lot of place to go.
Sammy, if you pressure the ball, figure out the field. Soccer is a game of moments.
120 by 80.
Sammy, think about where the ball is. The ball is the one that moves. You pressure the ball. If you channel the ball towards the wing and you pick up your position behind the man who's pressuring the ball, where's he gonna go?
Start it over.
Right, so you're predicting where he's gonna go. He can't go over the line. And right, you're forcing him in that area. That's the point. You start it over, he has to play it back then. Good. Then you squeeze again. So you're taking the ball closer to his goal as possible. And if you win it, they're good. But you don't back off over there. That's not who plays a game like that anymore. You don't back off like that, man.
Look at today. Come on.
Hey, listen. I'm in St. Louis, right? And St. Vincent scored force against the US. The worst thing they did was back off. So they back off, they build up pressure, they drop in front of the 18-yard line, they wind up with what, 5 or 6 goals.
You think that it was thing they did?
Dropping off, yes, that's the worst thing you did. Here's psychological. Here's what you did. You score force, right? So when you drop off, what's the message you're sending to the other team? What are you telling them? You just scored on them. What are you telling them? As opposed to keep on pressing, keep on pushing. What is the difference in the message?
We would get outplayed and we would get more than 6.
Drop off.
If we play up, we would get outplayed and more than 6.
One at a time. Go ahead, Lamont.
If we had pressed them high up and do all these other things you think we should do, we would have got like 10.
As per the Trinidad game.
But that's so negative. How much you got then? Okay, wait a minute. How much you eventually got?
Patrick, I'm going to challenge you here now.
Yes, challenge me. Go ahead.
I'm going to challenge you here now.
That's
Sammy,
provided.
Sammy,
Wait a minute, that's
Sammy.
providing you coach the press too, you know. You can't
Hold
do
on,
it
hold
unless
on,
you
hold
coach the
on.
press.
We get it.
Providing you coach the press.
Sammy has always been going back to this example over and
The
over.
Trinidad game, yes.
The Trinidad game. No, you are assuming that we understand how to press, where to press.
But that's what I said. That's what I said.
Hold on.
If you know how to
that's what I'm
press,
saying. You are assuming that we knew how to do that. So
well, maybe that's where I'm wrong. Maybe that's where I'm wrong. But listen, my coach team, that's one of the things we teach. We teach low pressure, high pressure, because you can't high pressure all game. You can't know when to drop back. My team will know. Listen,
here's
my
another
team will
factor
know.
you didn't take into consideration.
Right, no, I took it into consideration.
No, I'm giving you another one. I'm giving you another one.
The concept is what I'm talking about.
No, I'm going to give you another one to think about. So that team in preparation is similar to this team now. So
this team in preparation now for this World Cup?
Yes, it's similar scenario. But here's what I'm going to add to you, so you could take into consideration. The level of fitness that these players had wasn't for them to high press. They would have get more. Next, the weather conditions. These guys never played in that kind of condition before.
Hey, I was there. The conditions weren't a factor. I'm telling you right now. We're talking about the conditions were not a factor.
I talking based on talking to the players. I ain't talking based on.
I don't care what they tell you. I was there. I was there.
My brother,
I'm a Caribbean person.
You realize all them guys had on gloves and they had on long sleeves?
Theon, once you start, that wasn't cold enough. Once you started running, you laugh. Once you started running, it wasn't a factor, Theon.
All right,
I could bring you here. This was November.
That's cold, Patrick.
Here's the point. Here's the point. Listen, Sammy. Sam, just listen. Here's the point. Here's my concept. Caribbean teams, right? They don't have the experience of bringing in 4, 5, 6 foreign players who play in higher divisions and whatnot. They have to depend on work rate, okay? And that's pressing to really make inroads against teams that are experienced. You have to deny space and you have to work harder, which means one of the first things you have to do with a Caribbean team is, one of the first things you must do is make sure they are fit. Fitness is key. So this is how I would coach. I would not ask them to press because pressing is hard work, but you have to be fit enough to do it.
Well, that's what we're doing now.
So conceptually,
that's what we're doing right now. This is why we're on the beach. This is why we have beach training.
Yes, but Sammy, not 2 weeks before you play, Sammy, you have other things to work on.
Patrick, let me tell you something.
2 weeks before Sammy, 2 weeks before, fitness should have been done long time.
Patrick, this is in my methodology. This is in my methodology. Patrick, let me tell you something now.
The other thing is,
you all want the man, listen to me, Patrick, you all want the man to do what he ain't doing here. He's not going to do that. The easiest thing to do is get them fit on the beach and press them. That's
the thing. Forget about who. We're not talking St. Vincent. We talk about a coach anywhere in the world. What's the very first thing you make sure about your team? Tell me.
Who me?
What's the first thing you make sure about your team? The very first thing to do.
I am making sure the players that I pick are competent to play those positions. That's the first thing I'm going to do.
Sammy, you picked your team already. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. Sammy, your team was picked. What do you make sure they can do?
You make sure that they're competent, that they can control the ball and all that thing.
We've gone past that, Sammy. That's what I'm talking about. No. Look, Sammy, relax. You have a team. You pick them. They're okay, fine. What do you make sure they can do?
I have put it in my system of play in place. Starting with the defense.
The first thing you do, make sure your team is fit. Because no matter how good they are, if they're not fit, they're not going to be able to execute. I go past this, learning this and learning that. You have a team. Make sure they are fit. Otherwise, you're not going anywhere. I don't care how good they are technically.
What happens?
Mohan is asking you a question.
When the physical
diminishes.
Mohan, that's what that's it. The body could. What is it diminishes? If you're properly fit, how much is going to diminish at the end of the game? You've got substitutes. Listen, Mohan.
How many substitutes?
Let me finish. 5? Listen to me. No, yeah, but listen, Sammy, Mohan, if your team is well fit, and you know, here's the deal too. This is why you play low pressure defense. That's a chance to take a breather. And you have to
wait. Did he say low pressure defense, Patrick?
Exactly.
What does that to do with that? Say don't go back? Sammy, look, pressure is not going back, you know. The pressure starts at midfield line, and that's where you have your time to rest there. What you're saying there is joke.
I don't want to continue.
That is girls' That's women's
sport. Let's move on. Another factor, just to end off there, Patrick, that you could consider, and for me, I think our teams are very fit, you know. I think they are very fit. As a matter of fact, I think we just run more than everybody else.
There's no need to do all that kind of running. It's crazy. Unnecessarily.
What I think is that because of lack of organization, this is the problem. We run more than we need to run, and we do what we don't necessarily. So we end up getting tired very quickly. Even though our level of fitness may be okay, may not be the highest, but due to lack of organization and players knowing what to do. That is a factor.
Great point.
Organization. It's a great point, but here's the point, though, Theon. If you're fit, you'll stay organized. That's my point.
No. You have to.
Patrick, I beg to differ on that point strongly. I strongly beg to differ on that, Patrick. And I have never met you, but I can honestly say that. And I can give you examples right now.
But if your team is fit, why can't the coach teach compactness and organization? I don't understand.
No, you're talking something different.
Fitness does not. I want to tell you something. I cannot run at the same speed that I used to in high school, but I'm a much better player because I understand the game. I understand where I need to be so that I can help the team best and so that I can use my skills. When I coached college a few years ago, I had a phenomenal player, a Haitian player, amazing fitness. If somebody had taken her by the hand when she was little, she'd have been on a national team, as it is opportunity at that moment. But she was taught to play like 5 positions at one time. Every team she was on, she was taught to play like 5 positions because she was so fit. But if they had taught her how to help organize the rest of the team, they would have used her skill sets much more effectively.
Vicky,
she would burn out, and then she was like a cheetah.
Vicky, but I'm not saying because you're fit, you're going to be automatically organized. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's easier to teach organization, staying compact, side to side, up and down, if you are fit.
So it's Vinci. Is Vinci given?
Then if you're not fit,
Sammy, okay, put it this way: take fitness out of it. Where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do? What could you do? What could you do if you're not?
What are we talking about? Why would you want to take fitness out?
That's my point. That's my point, Sammy. That's my point. You can't take fitness out.
Why do you want to take it out, Patrick? What you're saying is nonsense.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm showing you the relevance of fitness.
Let's respect each other.
I'm showing you the relevance of fitness.
This is why you want Patrick.
This is all over the place.
This is why you should.
Okay, let's move on.
This is why you should stick to run for president and not coaching.
Sammy,
right. So again, what we're looking at is the backwards pressing on the second ball. So this is the backward pressing on the second ball. So what we're looking at before was the line that is facing the ball to press. Now what we're gonna look at is the line that's behind the ball also pressing. So it's a merging of 2 lines. So for example, if the play is occurring between the midfield and the attacking line, the 2 lines must squeeze together. So the attacking line, which would be in the back, needs to press to close the space there. So that's the backward pressing on the second ball. So again, here's a prime scenario here. The concept is basically this player He's gonna try to pass the ball forward, but this one is recognizing that he's gonna get. In trying to press, he's gonna meet the ball before the other player because he's pressing from behind, which is the blind side. So the press is trying to press the player from the blind side of the player in trying to regain possession of the ball. So I'm gonna go through a clip here just so you could recognize what we're talking about. Player coming in from behind and winning possession of the ball. So that's the backward pressing after the second ball. So here it is, player comes forward, wins it, and then they move forward again. That's a prime example again. Here we're gonna see it again, player comes in front from behind and takes possession of the ball and moves again. So what we're looking at is the backward pressing. While the player in front is also pressing, the player that's behind that can anticipate the movement that the player is gonna make, they're gonna get in front and win possession of the ball.
It basically becomes a short, long.
Yes. So here's the scenario again. It goes long. Now Bayern Munich player is gonna recognize he needs to squeeze from behind and he's gonna win it. Same concept here again. The player from behind is gonna come in front and win possession of the ball. That's it again. Here again. The player that's from behind is gonna come in front and win possession of the ball. So that's the two lines merging to create press or counter press the same particular player that is on the ball. So before we were only looking at the line in front pressing the ball, but we also have to look at the other line that is behind the player on the blind side, applying pressure as well.
Theon, I must apologize to Patrick. I think I misunderstood, and Patrick, you were just saying that it's easier to organize if you, in addition, have fit players, not just if you only have fit players.
That's how we interpreted it.
I apologize. I apologize.
Fitness is a given.
Yeah. In addition, absolutely. I'm sorry.
What you're talking about there, the sandwich policy, the forward, the center forward comes from opposition. Get language in them. All unless you have some level of fitness. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
Go ahead, guys.
All right. Good to
go. Level of understanding.
Correct. So you have to teach it first, right? You have to teach it because if they teach them, they're bad. All right. Now, the next concept in the long ball that we're gonna look at is the superiority in the long ball. So first one we can look at is, do we have a strong player to win possession of the ball? If we do have a strong player coming up against a weaker player, then obviously we go along to that particular player because we're gonna win that duel all the time. For example, when you play against Barcelona, they usually put the taller players to go on the side where Jordi Alba is. Why? Because he can jump well and you get to score a lot more goals from that side. So that's an example. If you could have an advantage by choosing the correct players to do that particular role, that is basically what you're looking at. All right. Next thing we're going to look at is creating the superiority based on where you are. So if we want to take a look at this particular scenario here,